Hello everyone, my name is Danica Joan and welcome to Custody Matters. I posted last week that I was going to talk about my Facebook Live, going to talk about the traits of a good family mediator. Why is this important in your situation? Because most of the courts nowadays are forwarding family law cases into mediation to try to get things resolved, trying to take some pressure off from the court system, from the court docket. So they're trying to get people into get in front of a mediator to try to work things out for themselves. One of the advantages of being able to mediate a case, or even just maybe not everything is solved, but some parts. There are certain things that you can agree upon and kind of get that off the plate, so that if you do have to go to a judge and have a judge decide for you, at least they're not dealing with taking the whole elephant. They're only taking a little chunk here and there. So it's important for you to understand the importance of finding a good mediator, making sure that if you are represented by a lawyer, that make sure that you get what you want, get what you're paying for, because mediation is a profession, and obviously the mediator will get paid by both one or both of the parties. And a lot of I know it's frustrating because it seems like, wow, everybody has their hand out. There's court costs, there's attorney fees, there's mental health, evaluations and things like that. But a mediator can be worth their weight in gold if you get the right one. Now, there's three categories of mediators that certified mediators. There's mediators that have a background in law. They might be a lawyer, a practicing lawyer, and then there's another one is somebody from the mental health arena is able to be a certified mediator. And then the third one is with a background of education. Now, you might want to research what it is that these different mediators bring to the table, so that I can get the best one, the best bang for my buck, and to actually get some workability in the mix. So a lawyer, their background is distinctions in law and what your rights are, things like that. So and it's a really great thing to be able to bring to the table, because there's no gray area. A mediator can absolutely, they have enough knowledge that they can determine whether it's if it's whatever it is you're agreeing upon is doable. A mental health counselor can bring, understanding the mental health background, or maybe they might be, they have the sociology background, psychology, different kinds of mental health counseling background. So they're going to bring more of a counselor approach into the mediation. And that may have its advantages. But, sometimes you really don't need that. You don't need to have a counseling session so much. And same thing with the lawyer. Sometimes the lawyer, they bring a lot of the stipulations and things like that into the mix, and that can be a little bit of it can kind of steer people away from the mediation of it. Now we're like into some of the legalese of it and stuff like that. There's good and bad. I come from the educational background. One thing that I guess something to say about educators is we're all about collaboration and stuff like that. If you think about it, a teacher in a classroom, a lot of times teachers are all about how can we get these 20, 30 kids or students together to get on the same page and try to work things out like a team. So that's kind of the gist of the three different categories of mediators. So and when I talk about mediation, a lot of times I bring up the traits because nothing says, like in your family situation, you know, there's the certified family mediators, but there's also people who are lay mediators. They're just naturally gifted. They're naturally skilled at coaching two parties to come to some resolution. And of course, over time that you can actually build your skills. You may have one of the things that a good family mediator is, and this is something you should research, whether you're looking for a family mediator, don't just take a garden variety of you know, just pull it out of a hat. You really want to make sure that I want to pick this expert because my case depends on it. So one of the traits of a good mediator is patience and tact. They need to have some empathy, some understanding of the different parties. They need to be more well balanced and understanding the feelings and the concerns and the fears of each party, and to not show any kind of favoritism for one or the other. And be able to, and some people, not everybody is able to just stay unhooked by certain personalities. And a good family mediator will be detached from getting hooked by a person's personality. You know, they might be a very strong personality, or they might be a very, you know, submissive personality, or they might be very talkative, or might be very quiet. There's just a whole gamut of personalities, and it is important for a good family mediator to be able to see those things objectively. So let's see, being adaptable, mediators can adapt to many of the kinds of personalities that they have, kind of being almost a chameleon, so to speak, but being authentic as well, being not just saying what you want to hear, really getting what, listening to the nuances of both parties. A lot of times they start out, family mediators, we have our different styles where sometimes when they do mediation, the two parties are instantly put into two separate rooms, and then in some situations you start out together to try to figure out what how everything's, you know, like the vibe or you know, feel it, you know, what kind of conflict that you feel is happening and stuff like that before you actually separate. Because some people actually, when the two parties get in the same room and they're talking with each other, you realize they actually have more to agree upon than they don't. But when they're separated, sometimes they've got different people in their ear. They have their attorney who's trying to fight for their best interest, and understandably. But sometimes when you have an advocate that's trying to fight for your side, they're also not giving the party access to the humanity of the other person, and realizing that there is some common ground here. So having perseverance, a mediator that has perseverance, looking for what can we agree upon, what can both of you agree upon, even start with the little things and set those aside, because those are things that the judge is, those are all the things that you can find to agree upon that are fewer things that the judge has to decide for you, and understand that the judge will ultimately, if you put it in their hands, the judge will decide for you. And you know, it's a gamble. It's a gamble and typically neither party feels like they won. They always feel like they sort of lost, but in a way, in fact, some mediators I've talked to, they said that they always tell the parties, they say, you know, if you feel like you won, or then it probably wasn't a good mediation. There needs to be some sort of a little bit of a, okay, I got what I wanted here, but I had to compromise here and everything. But if you get everything, then maybe, and the other person absolutely had nothing. I really question the quality of the mediation. There has to be some sort of a win-win or lose-lose kind of a balance and everything. So let's see here. One of the things I wanted, characteristics of a mediator. Mediators need to be prepared. They really need to be prepared with all of the background. They might have, they should have access to the case, some of the history of the case, and they can, just to get themselves familiar with it. Because you want your time to be used effectively, because you're paying for that time. Usually you pay like 2 hours of mediation time up front, and then, whatever the hourly rate is afterwards. So you want to make sure that they're prepared. And that they set down the ground rules for mediation. There's always the ground rules. Mediation is a voluntary process. The only thing that's not voluntary is that when the judge orders you to go to mediation, then you go to mediation. Once you've arrived there, checked in, at that point, it truly is voluntary. And understand that, yeah, you could get up and walk away, or you could see what it is that you can take off the judge's plate as far as what can be agreed upon. A good mediator restructures. They understand the conflict. Again, I talk about empathy, really empathizing with the impact of all the stuff that's gone on. What is the impact on that person, and how is it on both sides? What's the impact of the conflict that has happened? And being a good listener, really being a good listener, and even reflecting your active listening, or basically listening and then retelling it to the person so that they are clear that you have heard everything that they said, and maybe the things that they implied, and asking questions, and getting feedback. So it's very important. These are things that you can find on the internet. A lot of different good traits, skills of good mediators. And the reason I say that you should research it is because not necessarily, you may not be in a situation where you feel the need to hire a mediator, but it might be something valuable for you, because there might be somebody in your circle of influence that would make a good lay mediator, because anybody can mediate a conflict. Just like you as a parent, you might mediate the conflict between your two children. You're being a lay mediator. And a lot of the skills that it takes to become a certified mediator can also be skills you can develop for yourself in managing conflict with your child or your own siblings even. So, all right. So that is, I guess that's all I wanted to talk to you about today. We are also going live, I guess, about sometime after 7. So in about an hour and a half, I'm going to go on Facebook Live again, because this is a continuation of our proclamation, receiving our proclamation. So tonight, the City of Auburndale is awarding, giving us a proclamation, deeming it Parental Alienation Awareness Month, the month of April. It's something that we're always looking for opportunities to get the word out. I believe we're on the radio at the end of the week. We've got another proclamation in the morning. Super excited about it, because, children, we're really a stand that for a child to be whole and complete, they really need to have a value and appreciation and a love of all sides of their DNA, both their maternal side of their DNA and their paternal side of their DNA. Now, obviously, common sense would say that if the child was at risk of harm, that nobody in their right mind would demand that the child have a physical contact or relationship with an abusive parent. That being said, they also still need to feel something good about themselves. you know, there's something valuable that can be acknowledged by even a parent that has done you injustice, that there was something redeeming about them that you can see in your child, and you can bring that up, because the more positive you say about the other parent to the child, then that opens up a world, like the child their guard goes down, and they're able, because they can actually have dialogue with somebody that is not going to immediately, you know, destroy, you know, denigrate their parent to them. So do your best. And there's sometimes the circumstances are really hard, but do your best to try to find something good that you can say about the other parent to the child. All right. Well, I will see you in about an hour and a half. I hope this has been informative, and have a great Monday evening.